You are listening to the Nightly News Podcast, the voice of the Knights.
Welcome, everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I am so honored to be joined by our very, very special guest. It's not every day that we get to share the podcast studio with a Hall of Famer, and I'm sure that Abbee is going to get so mad at me in the future because every time I see her, I will introduce her as Nightly News Hall of Famer Abbee Breski.
Till you're 90. Till you're 90, yeah.
You know, and this is what I tell everyone. I'm not in any Hall of Fame, but you are. So I think that that's fantastic. No, Abbee Breski, welcome to the show, Nightly News Hall of Famer. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be back in a different format.
Well, we'll talk about that here in just a minute. No spoilers.
All right.
All right, also being joined by Nightly News President Noah Lopez. Noah, welcome back to the show.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Lots of big things to talk about, but of course, this is not really any news, and frankly, not really a spoiler either for that matter, but Abbee is here in a different capacity than she was last term. Of course, we had her on last term for her the induction ceremony. She was on the podcast, and but we're here to welcome her as the athletic success coach and the student engagement coordinator here at Central Penn College. So normally in the future, we will have Abbee on at the beginning of every term to talk about great events that she is planning coming up so everybody knows what's going on in each term. But we have to stop and get it all out there. I'm sure you've had to tell this story 1,000 times, so we'll make it 1,001.
All right.
But the bottom line was, you know, Abbee, and we don't need to be any specific or anything like that, but you were very happy when you got out of school. You were offered a very great job. I was very happy for you. I mean, I'm happy when any of my students who move into their career field right away, and I knew you would. You're an all-star, and that's why you're a Hall of Famer. And then one day, somebody came up to me and said, hey, did you reach out to Abbee? And I said, for what? They're like, to congratulate her on getting the job here.
Oh.
And
Comes back.
I was absolutely dumbfounded. I said, excuse me? She's coming to work here?
Yeah, it's
and then
funny.
I guess I just thought that I could have been used as a reference in that case, and that maybe you might have reached out to me to let me know so I didn't have to hear it third hand. So what do you have to say for yourself?
Oh, man. So I obviously, while I was here, I talked to many people, made a lot of connections. But honestly, when I applied, I tried to reach out to people outside of the college to kind of give a different perspective on kind of how I stayed true to who I was here my year after. Try to continue to advocate and build that community for myself and for the college when I came back. I learned a lot that year off. Not year off, but the year away from the college, which wasn't really away from the college. But I just learned a lot about the field that I went into marketing, and I had a great team behind me. But as far as like helping people, that's always been my passion. I think from day one, since I've met you, Dr. Miller, that was my mission, was to help people. And this position came open, and I love the school I went to, and I love the mission behind it. So I thought, what a better way than taking a shot at getting this job. So
I will tell you, I will never give you crap again. I've given it to you enough times, and so you have my word that I'll never ever mention that again. After
Couldn't
today.
resist the lore of Central Penn.
You know, and that's the thing. You know, Abbee, I think for you, I guess my first question, and then I promise you I won't grill you anymore on this, is how is it different, right? You see it from the student side, and you were extremely involved, Nightly News president for many years. You developed the relationships with these people, but what is it like now that you're the one driving all of the things as opposed to the one sort of being receptive to other people doing things that you're now doing? How does your impression of the college change now that you've seen it from both sides of the fence?
I think I've gained an even more appreciation for it. I've had a lot of people since the day I started be welcome me back to campus and really just be there as a support to start on the other side, because they were aware of me as a student, but they also knew that I've never done this before. So it was one of those things that I was very grateful for, that transition and the welcoming and all the advice and just the ideas given to me, just the support overall. I just have a lot of respect for it.
Well, and not only that, you're continuing to be our nightly news photographer. Looking forward to having you at your work doing a bunch of our games coming up here for basketball. So I looking forward to that as well. But I don't want to belabor this point, and we can continue having these conversations on future podcasts. But Abbee, I know I've already told you this, but I am so proud of you and the person who you've become. I always knew that you were going to be very successful in your life. I was surprised but unbelievably thankful that you're back, because I know the type of person you are, and you're exactly the type of person that's needed for this position, and I couldn't be happier for you. I
appreciate that so much. It means a lot.
You're the hero the school needed.
I am still going to say one final thing, though. I took all the Hall of Famers out to dinner. And you and Andrew both stood me up, and it was the rest of us all sitting there.
What?
So I still owe you and Andrew a Hall of Fame dinner that I insist that you take me up on at some point. I will talk to Andrew and see when his schedule is conducive, and I insist.
Just to clear the air.
Yeah, what's up?
I left there to go to the homecoming games.
Oh, see?
To set up.
She had
We're
a reasonable...
clearing the air.
There was a reason.
All right. Well, we will let that go again. We're so happy to have you here, Abbee. Hopefully your first couple of months has gone well and you've gotten settled in. You've got quite the activities calendar coming up. And, of course, at the end, we're going to talk about Abbee's favorite 3 events of the term. But a couple of things I want to talk about here before we begin. Well, first of all, one of the things that in our pre-show meeting you talked about is one of the big initiatives that you have is club involvement. And listen, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn to say that, frankly, since you started here did you start in 19 or 20?
21.
21. Since you started here in 21, I'm sure even you've seen, and it frankly all started because of COVID, in my personal opinion, but I think you've probably seen some of the club involvement wane somewhat. Tell me a little bit more about what your goal is in terms of getting more students to be involved in on-campus clubs and activities.
So I've actually talked about this with Dr. Wilkinson, but a big passion of mine is seeing people for who they are and the interests they have. So a lot of my first term here, I spent, the common hour or maybe like that 3:00 time after in either the Learning Hub or the CAF to really talk to people, get to know people's names, their program, their passions, different things of that nature. And anybody that passes me knows I'll ask them what they want to do and what they think is fun and all that fun stuff. So just going out and seeing people, even being at the games for basketball so far and soccer. I was lucky enough to go to Pittsburgh with the soccer team this fall, so that was fun. Just getting out there into like their realm of things that they do on an everyday basis and bridging that connection to try to hopefully also get them to understand some of these other things that are useful to help you prepare for after college.
And Noah, as a student leader here on campus, and one of our, frankly, best recruiters.
Recruiter? What do you mean?
For the nightly news.
Oh, yeah. Put me in the military, man.
Well, I don't know that that's necessary, but what I'm saying is you've always been a type of person that is proud of the nightly news and wants to share that. Let me just ask you, in your personal opinion, what is it about the campus that we've seen some of the club membership wane a little bit? I mean,
what do you mean by that? Like?
So, in a general sense, again, since COVID, especially, let's just say this, prior to COVID, the number of clubs that we had and the number of people who participated in clubs were drastically increased over where we're at now. And in fact, one of the things that we continue to struggle with as a campus, and again, as a club advisor, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, is just participation. And some clubs that used to be really, really strong on campus just are struggling to manage to even have any enrollment at all. Why do you think that is, as a student who's sort of in the residential population? What is your opinion on why you think that is?
Oh, man, I could say so many things here. Well, the first reason, very obvious, COVID, I can say, I don't know, I think I can say this. It plummeted the entire culture of the college and a lot of places and people in our generation, schools, into the ground. And it also doesn't help that I love this campus, I love the dorms, but because the dorms are shared but not shared at the same time, everyone gets their own room, everyone seems to stay secluded. I live in my own dorm, it's full of people, but no one ever leaves their room. It also is like sometimes people are like scared to leave the room at the same time as the other person. So if like they hear someone walking around, they're not going to go out until that person goes back into their dorm, and then they'll go out. It's just like, I don't know what it is. COVID could have killed our social skills as a young generation. It also could be just like people are nervous in a new place and they don't understand anything. They don't want to get out there because they're afraid. I know.
I get that as a freshman, but come on. I mean, it's got to wear off after a while.
It has to, but here's the thing, right? People don't like to get involved because they feel like, I know that a lot of club members that we have now said this when they joined. It's like, well, I don't know if I'll have the time. I just have so much schoolwork. I'm scared I won't be able to do my schoolwork. Even I said this. And look, I'm president now. I'm doing too much stuff, and I love it. I'm still passing my classes.
You're doing better than passing your classes.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, like, people don't understand that involvement in your school and the engaging within the community culture around you is what's going to make your college experience better, opposed to just sitting in your dorm all the time.
No, it's not even about your
melting in your own stench.
It's not even about your college experience. Yes, it will make your college experience better. But think of all of the people who you have now interacted with, the relationships that you've built that you are able to leverage down the road. By being Nightly News president, the president of our college knows who you are.
Oh, yeah.
By being Nightly News president, you have created stronger relationships with myself, Professor Lear Limpy, and a number of other people around campus. You know, and
you get connections through this.
And that is what one of the major strengths of club involvement is. It's not just about the here and now. Yeah, sure, it's great that you are on podcasts and you get to publish stuff and all of this. But what people aren't thinking of is the benefits. I mean, that's part of why you go to a campus.
Like, why go to college? You're like, I don't think people understand. You don't go to college to get your degree. You go to college to get experience, and the degree comes with it. Because if you go to college just to get your degree, but you don't do anything in college, you're going to graduate with a piece of paper and nothing on your resume. Right. And then no one's hiring you, bro. No one's hiring you.
Well, and Abbee, too, we made this. I knew this, but Noah was unaware that you were not a residential student here on campus.
I didn't know that.
Correct.
I did not know that.
You were a commuter.
Yes.
And you were the president of the Nightly News for 3 years.
Yes.
So for you...
And I was in Gambitify and I worked.
What?
Well, and it's even more challenging to convince people who are commuting to campus to get involved. What was it with you, other than me, like, begging you to be a part of what we did?
I think people are just too comfortable. I think that's what it is. They don't like to step out their comfort zone.
From a commuter perspective, what was it?
It was a large part in, like, I was at a part of my life where, like, I knew, like, I had to go full in to, like, get the experience and get what I put into it. I had to get the most out of it while I was here. And I think maybe it's underappreciated, just communicating with your peers and your professors and staff, faculty, whoever it may be on campus. Everybody comes here with a different story and a different background. Not everybody's been teaching their whole life. Not everybody's been a success coach or in student services their whole life. These are like educational stories. You can see where they've learned, where you can go out of here and maybe you graduate with 1 degree, but then you take a turn. You get more comfortable with that turn when you know other people have done it, and then you get more comfortable with the uncomfortable, which I think is what a large part of what clubs is. I would have never been a sideline reporter for 3 games, but it's uncomfortable. But it made me grow, and it made me
did it for way more than 3 games.
Yes, okay, it was a little bit more.
Yeah, there's no way just 3 games.
But it makes you get more comfortable in the uncomfortable, which is what I think a big part of life is because we're constantly growing and the communities are constantly changing and your environments and your workforce is constantly changing. So getting comfortable in that, I think, is a large step in you growing as a professional and a human being.
I want to add just one thing here before we move on. Hannah Pasquarella, our vice president, who was a part of the club while you were here as president, she specifically, in one of my final conversations, pointed to you as one of the reasons that she got involved because she was a commuter as well, and she had some of the very similar maybe concerns that you had at first, and by her coming to a meeting and seeing you being in that same sort of situation showed her like, okay, this is not really that big of a deal.
It's not that evil, man.
Oh, I appreciate
Clubs are not
that.
extra homework. I think a lot of people see it as extra homework. It's like, oh wait, I have to write stories. I already have to write essays.
I mean,
Well,
there's-
there are many things that you can do as part of the club, not just necessarily writing written
Also,
stuff.
it's not entirely everybody's fault. I don't want to make it seem like we're blaming everybody for not leaving their rooms. Our college residents are mostly sports players, so they're already involved in that sense, so they don't really they don't have time to do clubs because they're doing sports and they're practice all the time.
With that being said, too, people who are very influential in what we've done over the past 5 years, Kevon and Dalton Kohler and Kevon Davis were both athletes as well. So I think that's maybe what the excuse that people are using in their minds to justify why they're not
sports,
more
man.
involved.
I can't do it, man.
But anyway, I don't want to get too far off track. Abbee, I appreciate the fact that one of the initiatives that you really want to hit is increased club involvement. I think we've all, from both a residential and commuter perspective, kind of looked at both sides of that. So I hope that is something that anyone out there listening is considering. And anytime you're interested in a club, please reach out to either the club president or the advisor of that club and get more information. Just one real quick thing. I did want to point out that during this term, we are going to have sports aplenty.
Oh, yes.
After this recording, the next basketball game will be January the 21st. And then, interestingly enough, the schedule goes, I believe, 4 consecutive Tuesday nights, as well as a Friday night, February 6th. So every Tuesday in February, there will be a home basketball game, as well as Friday, February 6th. And then, of course, and at this point, it has not quite been finalized yet, but we will get baseball coming in March. So, as always, you can go to centralpennnights.com for all of the scheduling information. And, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up one of the really, really important events that we have coming up this term, and it is the CPC Film Series. It's going to be on Friday, February 27th at 6 o'clock in the Capitol Blue Cross Theater. Noah Lopez, Nightly News President, will be presenting on the classic Fight Club.
Yes, great movie, guys.
So
it's a great wrestling movie, guys. You should come see it. I'm just kidding.
So, and Noah, we will have you on later on this term to talk much, much more about this, but I wanted to get that on everyone's calendar. And I do have to note, it is the 30th edition of the CPC Film Series.
Oh my goodness, this is a big one.
Wow.
It's a big day.
Big shoes to fill. So one of the things that I am going to be working on this term is a historical retrospective about the CPC Film Series as we come into our 30th. And I actually just found out about this when we were doing our 10-year article that we did last year. We celebrated 10 years of the Nightly News, and we did an article, and I was like, I gotta know how many. I gotta try to remember. I went back in the archives and literally found every single date of every single one, who presented, and this is number 30. So on our future podcast, Noah, we will most certainly have more information and insight about that exact topic.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, I think we start at 6 p.m.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, 6 p.m., you guys.
And you
Capitol
have
Blue Cross Theater.
And we'll hold that for now, but I hear you have something special planned for that first half an hour.
If you want to come a little early, you can, but yeah, I do have something special planned.
So Noah, you will be on in the next couple of weeks to promote that, and we can certainly talk much more about that. Well, Abbee, I would like to turn the rest of the show over to you. There are 3 marquee events that you are looking to highlight in this term above and beyond what we've already talked about. So let's start off. What is event number 1?
So event number 1 will start on January 22nd. We're going to start with an event from 5 to 7 p.m. in the multi-purpose room. It's going to be an event based on recipes that you can cook as a college student, maybe more affordable, maybe a little bit easier, just kind of get you started. One of those life skills that can sometimes be lost, but easily
Abbee,
found.
We used to have a Cooking with CPC, this was pre-COVID, initiative where different faculty and staff members would bring everybody in and they would pick one specific dish that they basically taught everybody how to cook. I wonder if we could reboot that.
Oh, that sounds cool.
That does
In
sound-
in
Oh my
the in the
goodness.
future,
Yeah.
I don't want to put any more on your
No,
plate. I know
it's
I know
okay.
you have enough going on.
Need
But
more ideas, right?
I love all ideas.
I remember when I actually presented on different grilling techniques. So we busted
wow.
out the grill,
Yeah.
and I taught about marinating, and I taught about grill temperatures and those types of things. It was a lot of fun.
Was that
I
chili
like
thing
it.
you guys did part of that or no?
Well, no, that we do have a chili cook-off here for
Okay,
faculty
yeah.
and staff. That was something a little bit different, but I mean,
Okay.
hey, I could certainly teach people how to make soup. I love,
Yes.
I love my soup. But
Chili's pretty good. His
Soup
chili was
sales.
good. His chili
The
was good.
soup's pretty good.
So, again, that is Thursday, January 22nd from 5 to 7. That is sharing recipes. That'll be in the NPR. Abbee, what is the second event we would like to focus on?
Our second event is one of, I'll say, the campus favorite, actually. On February 4th, we have Paint and Sip. So a nice lady named Joy comes in and teaches you how to paint a different painting each term. And everybody seems to love it. Again, just getting together. We also have usually really good food. So everybody loves free food. And then just different drinks for you to enjoy and have some time together as students with your peers, and then take home a nice painting.
And that will be, again, Wednesday, February 4th from 7 to 9 in the NPR. That is Paint and Sip.
Yes.
All free, right?
Yes.
For free for students?
Yep.
And last but not least, we have one final marquee event this term.
Yes. Every February, the Black Student Union holds a luncheon for Black History Month. So we will tentatively hold that on February 19th. More information to come on that. But it's usually music, good food, very educational.
Something that we have certainly covered in the past as well. So hopefully, one of our Nightly News Media Club members will be on hand to document that.
Yes.
Again, that is the Black History Month luncheon sponsored by BSU, Thursday, February 19th from 12 to 2 p.m. Abbee, I got to tell you, you're doing an incredible job, because one of the things that I do each and every term is I will go on to the events calendar, and that kind of helps me program who I'm going to have on for the term. And I must say, you have done a spectacular job here in winter to give the students all kinds of things to do. So the bottom line is, if you're out there and you're saying there's nothing to do on campus, you need to come talk to Abbee, and she's going to set you straight, because you would be
Yes.
way, way, way wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong, man. There's so much to do.
We have stuff planned. We have a lot of fun things planned, and I'm always taking ideas. So if you have great ideas, I'm open to them.
I have an
I'm
idea.
in the underground.
Take us all to Ocean City, Maryland.
They've done that before in the summertime. They've done
Yeah.
beach trips.
Really? I
Yeah.
don't remember this one.
I don't know if it was necessarily Ocean City, Maryland, but I know that they've done. I know when Adrian was here, she did beach trips.
That's cool.
So
Yep.
so again, for the bank of things to do in the future.
Yeah.
Just a quick rundown, of course, tons of athletics this term, men's and women's basketball, baseball. You can always go to centralpennnights.com for the schedule of events there. We are talking about sharing recipes on January 22nd from 5 to 7 in the NPR. Paint and Sip is Wednesday, February 4th from 7 to 9 in the NPR. And Thursday, February 19th is the Black History Month luncheon in the Conference Center from 12 to 2. And, of course, we will be back later on this term to talk about the 30th edition of the CPC film series Fight Club with Noah Lopez on Friday, February 27th at 6 p.m.
Yes.
Any other thoughts?
Just get involved. Talk to people. See people. Have fun.
Get yourself out of your comfort zone. I want to leave you with this.
Yes.
And no, I want to bring you in here on
Okay.
our last minute of the show. Last term, the Nightly News did something we've never ever done before.
Oh, we did.
Yes.
Yeah, we did do that.
Yes, and some of you might be thinking about the haunted house.
Well, we did two things we've never done before.
Which is also something that
That's
we've
what I
never done
thought.
before, which was fantastic. But what we did was Christmas caroling.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you know this, but this is not something that I would typically be interested in doing. I guess I have an okay voice, but it's not something that I would ever actively seek out to do. And Alex and Jules and Noah and others, I don't want to just limit to those, but you guys were the driving force behind this. It was your idea.
Yep.
Your enthusiasm was infectious. And even though when I woke up that day, I kind of dreaded it,
You didn't want to do it.
When it was over,
Yeah.
I took a lot away from it,
was very
and
fun.
I enjoyed it very
Yeah.
much. So my point here, and what I'm trying to say is I know that when you start with something, you're always going to have nervousness and maybe some trepidation.
If it's new, yeah.
But the more you do it, the better it becomes. The more you feel part of school, the more it's going to enhance your education, increase your network. I mean, the bottom line is campus involvement is part of the reason that you are here and that you're not just, taking remote classes.
Yeah. If you wanted to, you could just take remote classes. Then,
But that's the thing. As great as online classes can be for certain people, they do detract from some of the experiences that college is there for.
Yeah, if you were online, you wouldn't have had to get your door knocked on and got sang to for during Christmas time.
But I do want to thank you, Noah, for, again, forcing me outside of my comfort zone because it did end up being something that was fun. And we brought a lot of joy to people on campus, and people really loved it. And I got a lot of great feedback after the fact, and so we got some great pictures.
You know what to
as
say,
well.
the best way to spread Christmas cheer is to sing loud for all to hear.
Everybody loved it. And no, I have to show my appreciation for you as well, because
happened?
I feel like you are, I don't even know how to explain it, but you just embrace everything you do with, I think, your whole heart.
Oh, yeah.
And I
try to go all out,
I respect it a lot, and I think sometimes that can be hard to do, but I just wanted you to know, I respect that a lot.
Thank you.
And coming from a Hall of Famer, that means something.
Oh, jeez, man. Oh, jeez. Oh, shucks.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. We want to thank Nightly News Hall of Famer and athletics success coach and student engagement coordinator, Abbee Breski. Abbee, welcome to the show as a colleague for the first time.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're my superior now? Oh, man.
No. And, of course, we want to thank Nightly News President Noah Lopez for joining the show. And, again, we'll have you back later on this term to talk more about the film series.
Of course.
All right. Well, for Professor Paul Miller, for Abbee Breski, Nightly News Hall of Famer, and from Nightly News President Noah Lopez, this has been the Nightly News Podcast, and we'll see you again next time.
This is Nick Hogan, Secretary of the Nightly News and CPC Film Series correspondent. You're listening to the Nightly News Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller, and I'm so honored to be seated with a wonderful group of folks here. I want to make sure that I introduce everybody first, and then we'll have time for some brief introductions, and then we will talk much more about a fascinating new initiative from our library called the Pennsylvania Academic Libby Consortium. So we're going to talk much more about that, how students here at Central Penn can get involved with this wonderful new initiative. And of course, at the end, we'll talk a little bit more about what we can expect from the library this term. Of course, we are joined by the library director, Margaret Schachte. Margaret, how's it going?
It's going well. I'm very happy to be back on the podcast again. I think this is my third time.
Well, we're happy to have you back on campus because in case everyone wasn't aware, you were out sick yesterday.
Everyone knows. Why does everyone know?
I mean, it's a small campus. That's just how it goes.
Everyone I've talked to today has been like, how you feeling? I heard you were out sick. I love it.
Well, that's going
It shows they care.
It shows they care, but it also shows that they were probably down at the library yesterday looking for you. So that's a good thing.
This is true. That is a good thing. That is a good thing.
So at least there was some traffic in the library yesterday.
Yes.
So that's good. Also being joined by a librarian from Thaddeus Stevens, Cassandra Dwyer. Cassandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And you are here today on a special field trip, I suppose you would say.
I am.
To be here, and we could talk a little bit more about what brings you to campus today. And it's awesome to have you on the show today, and so glad that you're here.
Thank you.
Also being joined by Nightly News for the first time, co-vice president Alex Foley. Alex, how's it going?
Hello. It is going well. Good start to the term.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. And of course, Alex, we want to give you a congratulations on your, I suppose you would say, promotion to co-vice president, along with Jules Quare. We had Hannah Pasquarella graduated at the end of last term, so you're going to step in and fill in for her as VP going forward, and you're also getting more involved with our sports broadcasting, so we greatly appreciate all of your efforts in the Nightly News.
Thank you. I love being here.
Well, we're glad to have you. And so I want to just give sort of a preface to why we're all here today. So in December, Alex had the fine opportunity to write a story about the Pennsylvania Academic Libby Consortium, which you can always find at cpcnightlynews.com. And I will also put the link along with our podcast to that article that's going to share a little bit more information about that. But we wanted to talk a little bit more. Obviously, it'd been a couple of months since you'd written that article to be published. So I want to talk about maybe some new updates and maybe just generally speaking what this is about. So first of all, Cassandra, since you're certainly new to the show, and I'm sure many listeners aren't knowledgeable of you and your background, do you mind just sharing with us a little bit of an introduction about yourself and how you got into the library industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally born and raised Buffalo, New York.
I've been to Darien Lake, and it's gorgeous.
It is great. I was up there for the holidays. A lot of snow. Surprise, surprise.
It's great in the summertime.
Yeah. So after college, I took a bit of a detour and lived in Los Angeles for 2 years and knew I wanted to do something different. Entertainment industry wasn't for me, and my roommates had 3 librarians over at a house party. And I talked to them, and I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Moved back to Buffalo, got my master's in library science at University of Pittsburgh online, and then about a year after that, I ended up at Thaddeus College of Technology as their librarian.
Well, we are, again, so happy to have you. I spent a lot of time out in Western Pennsylvania at Slippery Rock University, which is, I don't know, an hour or so from Buffalo and an hour or so from Pittsburgh. So I got to spend a lot of time out in that area. And weather-wise, not for me.
This just goes to show that everyone should invite librarians to their dinner parties because good things come out of it.
Indeed. Well, let's talk a little bit more about this Pennsylvania Academic Libby Consortium. So first of all, Margaret, I want to kind of talk to you about this because, according to Alex's article, you were, one of the, and both of you are 2 of the driving forces between the creation of this digital library consortium, as Alex called it in the article. I just want to read a sort of a brief excerpt from Alex's article from December 8th. The aim of the Pennsylvania Academic Libby Consortium is to bring together electronic library resources from a variety of colleges across Pennsylvania. These information sources include ebooks, audiobooks, and digital textbooks, and they will be accessible to students and employees of participating schools. So let me first ask, what was the impetus, Margaret, for doing something like this? Where were some of the challenges that you'd had previously that this hopes to solve?
Previous to this, and actually currently, we subscribe to eBook Central, which is through ProQuest. That's the vendor. And that's how we provide most of our ebook content currently to everyone in our campus community. It is expensive. And also, they were recently acquired by another company, and they're switching to they call it a subscription model coming up this summer, which means that it will kind of be like Netflix in that the librarian will not be able to purchase titles on their platform anymore. Currently, we're able to, buy what students need. We can guarantee that certain books will be there for faculty to use with their students because we own them. But eBook Central switching to a subscription model where I would no longer be able to guarantee that, and I need more control over the collection than what eBook Central was offering, especially because I've been trying to encourage faculty to really integrate these library books into their courses. It saves money for the students, and it's a great way for the library to be able to support academic programs. But if I can't guarantee that books will be there, that kind of puts a stop in what I can do with the faculty. So that and the price, I was in the market for other options, and had been for several months. And so when Cassandra reached out to everyone in our catalog consortium, talking about would anybody be interested in going together on an ebook platform, I was in 100%.
So Cassandra, tell me about how all of this got started, because from our perspective, and again, I don't know off the top of my head how many students Thaddeus Stevens has, but I do know that we're both small private colleges. So we have very many of the same issues as a campus community as Thaddeus Stevens does. So tell me, what was your perspective on why you wanted to sort of drive this initiative as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were using EBSCO eBooks. That was our ebook vendor. and the titles that were offered, it was a similar subscription model to now what's being offered. It didn't involve a lot of choice over the collection, and the titles weren't particularly relevant to my students. As a technical college, I need access to up-to-date technical information. Books from a decade ago are no longer relevant in that subject, and I didn't have much control over that collection. It just wasn't being utilized in a way I thought was effective. I have a colleague at Thaddeus Stevens who previously worked at Hack and had mentioned that she had a lot of success over at Hack switching over to Overdrive Libby. And I, emailed them, got in touch, didn't think the pricing was something I could really do as an individual college. The collection would be very, very modest. And in the email, they also offered consortium pricing. Since we are part of a cataloging consortium, both Central Penn and Thaddeus Stevens, I reached out to Margaret and other librarians and just asked who would be interested. And yeah, Margaret, like she said, she was in 100%. She was 100% in from the minute. This would not have happened without Margaret.
And we were looking at a couple different vendor options early on. I think there were like 3 that we were looking at, but pretty quickly, Libby was really the top contender because it really just had everything that we were looking for, especially that people would already know what it is. A lot of people already use Libby through their public library, so it's less of a technical hurdle for students. It's really user-friendly, super user-friendly app. And the customer service was fantastic.
I think my first question as a communication person centers around sort of copyright. So you'd mentioned a subscription-based model for an individual school versus a subscription-based model for a consortium. So can you explain to me sort of that gray area there between, I guess my question is, outside of the largest institutions, Penn State, Pitt, Temple, those kinds of places, why wouldn't everybody join a consortium like this in order to share resources?
I mean, that's a great question. I'm not sure why this hasn't been done already, quite frankly. We're not exactly going to be in a subscription model now. Now, we're all in the same consortium. We're going to be buying individual titles mainly. And I like that. I like being able to choose and purchase and know that I own it. And so you can actually think of our Libby collection kind of like a digital interlibrary loan. When libraries have print books, they can mail them to each other and let them share. This Libby consortium is like that in that we are all, the individual libraries are purchasing these titles, but it's getting put into a shared collection where users from multiple campuses can borrow them. Although we can set it up so that the institution that purchased it, their students can get priority if there's a holds queue. Which I do think is a benefit for a lot of our libraries. We want to make sure that our students have access to the materials that we bought for their specific programs. But think of it like interlibrary loan, and it's not like a subscription in that sense, because it's really just giving us the forum and the platform in which to share these e-resources.
But Cassandra, if I wanted a book, say, that your library had access to, I wouldn't necessarily be able to go on that platform and just get it. I would have to go through an external process in order to have access to that book?
Through Libby? Nope. You will be completely user-friendly. So from our perspective, from the librarian's perspective, we will see which titles are owned by Central Penn, which ones are owned by Harcum, Thaddeus Stevens. From the user experience, it is completely seamless and integrated. So from your perspective, it's just going to look like a book.
And then, but are there a number of people who can access the book limited?
Limited to the people at our colleges. I mean, you're going to be logging in through your single sign-on. So that's how we're authenticating users. We don't want users who are not part of our campuses because we get charged by how many users we have. It goes by full-time equivalent of student. So in that respect, we limit it, but really, anybody from our campus is able to log in. You're going to use your single sign-on, and then you'll just be able to browse the whole catalog and access everyone's content, which is fantastic. It really multiplies our budget dollars.
I just, to me, and maybe this is something we'll all have to learn together over time, is I guess I just don't understand why everybody wouldn't be a part of this consortium. I mean, to me, it would make so much more sense to have sort of this shared collection across all types of colleges. Certainly in a geographical radius, I'm sure that there's some limitations there, but wouldn't it make more... Do you think this is sort of the wave of the future in the libraries?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Do you know who's actually been on the cutting edge and has been doing the consortium model for a long time? Is public libraries. If public libraries, and again, who are the main users of Libby, they have been doing this behind the scenes for a long time, and academic libraries are now just starting to play catch up. One of the people I reached out to was Meg Bacchus from Northern New York Library Network, who runs a similar consortium for academic ebooks, and they have now 21 colleges on board in New York State. It's really, really of benefit.
That's tremendous. Well, Alex, I want to come to you because you were sort of the driver of this article and, why we're even all here today. So tell me a little bit about some of the things that maybe we haven't discussed yet that you learned as doing the story.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned about and that I was most excited about is that Libby, correct me if I'm wrong, has the audiobook feature. Can you speak
100%,
to that?
and it's so exciting, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
I know our students have been asking for audio content for a long time. Like as long as I've been here at Central Penn, they've been asking for audiobooks. And unfortunately, aside from like books on CD, there hasn't been much opportunity for me to provide them because EBSCO doesn't provide audio content. Ebook Central doesn't provide audio content. And so I was really limited in what I could do. And with Libby, we can buy the audiobook versions of so many of these titles, including academic titles. And there's a lot of students who either like they have a hard time sitting down and reading an entire book, but like if they listen, they consume the whole thing. Or, we've got people with long commutes. We got people who want to be listening to their textbook or their research material while they wash the dishes, So, and I think like the wave of how people think now in the 21st century, it's very visual and it's very audible. And people don't necessarily want to sit and read words. Like they want to kind of interact with them more. And I feel like that's what you get with audiobooks. And people are just looking for that. And I can finally have an answer when they're like, oh, do you have audiobooks? And I can finally say yes, which is super exciting.
Not to take away from, obviously, I'm an audio person. I love listening to podcasts and things like that. As a librarian, though, do you worry that this audiobook revolution might hurt people's reading skills?
Go ahead, Cassandra.
To that, I would say what came before people's reading skills? What came before written language? Oral storytelling.
Sure.
This is a tradition that has been around even longer than books, honestly. So no, I don't worry at all about it. I'm just happy they're reading.
And also, when you look at the research and the brain scans, listening to a story activates the same part of your brain that reading it does. And so they're both valid forms of reading. And honestly, audiobooks are my preferred format.
Hey, and there you have it.
Books are packets of information. However you get it, the information is what matters. So whether you're listening to it or reading it, it's the same thing.
Hey, right from the people who are the experts in this field. Alex, what else did you learn about this Libby Consortium that was really interesting to you?
Just the types of titles that you had mentioned that various colleges would be bringing to this. You had mentioned potential art texts, like art textbooks, and maybe even some fiction works. Is there anything that you're excited about that's being brought in?
So, yes, that's one thing that's super exciting is that each college can curate their own collection, like for the needs of their programs and the needs of their students. And we're hoping to grow this consortium in the future. Like we're looking for new members to join us. So like you said, if an art and design college were to join us, we'd get those kind of books. Thaddeus Stevens is a technical college, so I'm maybe hopeful for some technical materials. And then some campuses are looking to really use Libby to fill in for recreational reading, which, Cassandra, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just speaking as a technical college, my in-print collection development primarily goes towards technical books. I will, get fiction titles and leisure titles, graphic novels upon request, but our budget there is more limited. Through Libby, I'm able to offer more recreational titles. I have students now, not one campus, but 5 different campuses. I want to offer materials, both technical and just for recreation, on all of those campuses, even if they never step foot in my library physically.
Yeah, I think this is all unbelievably interesting, and I think what's so unique about this, both Margaret and Cassandra, is that this to me, clearly is the wave of the future. And I mean, to your point, Cassandra, maybe, this is the wave of the present. You don't even want to say the future because it's already been in use in other capacities. Your case study of New York is a really good example. I wonder, as somebody who still is actively doing research, I don't know if I've shared this with you, Margaret, but I achieved one of my largest goals of 2025.
Which, congratulations on that, by the way.
Well, let me say what it is, and then you can say that again.
Oh, sorry.
So part of my dissertation research, the one piece of advice that I was always given was to collect extra data. So do the study I'm doing, but also collect extra data so that I could do additional studies with that same data set. So I did. So long story short, I had been published in a book chapter in my dissertation, and now I submitted my first journal article December 31st, 2025. That was my goal, is to do it by the end of 2025. And yes, it was on the last day, but it's because I'm unbelievably meticulous and I read through it like 5 times when I probably didn't need to. But so I'm really happy about that. My point, and thank you for the congratulations. Do you think that this could be used as a case study that could be used in a scholarly sense, that you could write up a best practice of putting together a consortium, or even in industry publication for library sciences could be used as sort of a way to teach other people around the country how to set something like this up? Have you thought about that?
So we've been invited to present at 2 different conferences so far. We accepted one. The other one was too big and too far away and too short-term notice. But it looks like people are interested in seeing what we're doing.
And I think something on top of that, the people at Overdrive, specifically Dylan and Tracy and Jess, who we've worked with, have been unbelievably supportive, and they have been absolute champions of, hey, I really think you should go to this conference next year and present. And, if in the future there's somebody interested in a consortium, can I put them in touch with you? That's how I got introduced to Meg from New York, is they put me right in touch with her. So I really, really think there's potential, and our partners at Overdrive have been absolutely fantastic.
And I encourage you from a personal standpoint to maybe draft up some type of case study, or maybe, once this has a little time to breathe, drafting up a case study and seeing if there's any industry publications that would be interested in publishing an article or something from you, because I think this is super unique. And I mean, maybe not unbelievably unique in that other people are using this, but you're obviously on the cutting edge of something that could be a staple in the future of higher education. So in some small way, I hope that's a compliment.
Yeah, and we don't want to gatekeep. Like, we want this information to get out there. And librarians, we share stuff all the time. So, I'm sure going into the future, we'll share our documentation. We'll share how we have our consortium set up if people have questions, and want to know. And we're really hoping that more people join us. There were quite a number of colleges who, they started looking into it, and then they were like, okay, well, we can't right now, but, come back to us, keep us in the loop. And so we're really hoping, even as this year goes by, that we'll have more institutions join us, and, we'll only get more resources added to the collection that way.
And the more schools and people you have involved, then you can create your own sort of Pennsylvania network and have your own professional organization. And I know that you'd already had a conference along these lines, so continuing to do that. I'm just seeing all types of things that could be in the future. Now, Alex, again, you have arguably spent as much time as any student with this whole situation. So what are some questions that have occurred to you that maybe haven't been answered to this point on our podcast today that, as a student, questions you might have or other students might have?
I would say, the types of class materials. I know you have obviously mentioned that a lot of the works in these collections will help students with their studies, but I guess, what specifically? Textbooks, other supporting documents? Is it the stuff that we would be reading in class or more out of class?
Right now, from what's in the collection, it will be things that support your research, support what you're learning. I do want to, in the future, add specifically the course textbooks, but I want to have conversations with the faculty first to ensure that they're not planning to like revise their class in the next few months when I buy a title. So there's conversations that need to be had that I need to talk with people. There's also a lot of open access material that I will be adding into the collection. There are several university presses that have open access textbooks and academic books that I can add for free into Libby. And then if instructors are able to use that as course content, I mean, I think open access educational materials are the next big thing. I mean, I know everyone in academia has kind of been pushing them for a while, but
because a $200 textbook is reasonable?
Exactly. So, but especially if we can take those open access books from those university presses and then have them live in Libby where they're easy to access and everyone can find them. That's my hope, but it will take a little bit of coordination. I'll need to talk with the faculty. I'm hoping that in the next 6 months, because eBook Central won't be leaving immediately. My contract with them ends in August. So we have like a good transition period here. So over the next few months, those are the conversations I'm going to be having. Like, do you need your specific textbook in your course? Or what about some of these open access resources? Can you use those? How can we set this up so that it's good for you, the instructor, and it fits the needs of your class, but it's also something the library can provide, and it also fits like your students' budgetary needs.
What about journals? Are we just talking about books here, and so none of this has anything to do with journals?
This is just books.
Okay, fair enough. All right, before we get out of here today, Alex, any final thoughts that you have? You have, as I mentioned, spent so much time with this, and you had some amazing questions here. Any final just general thoughts? And you've already tried this, so tell us a little bit about that first time you got to try it.
Yeah, I was super excited for the day that this launched. I accessed the Libby Consortium through the mobile app, but I know it's cross-platform. How can we as students access it? Like, what are the various ways we can access it?
So I can say for our Central Penn students, you can go to the LibGuide, go to the list of databases, and Libby is going to be listed there. You can click it. It will take you to the website. There's a button that says sign in. You're going to pick Central Penn, and then you just log in with your single sign-on. So your Central Penn email and a password. It's that easy. And then your other option is the mobile app, which I'm sure a lot of students will actually prefer that format. Libby works really well on an app. And for that, you just download it. It asks you what your institution is. You put it in. It'll come up. And I'll have, hopefully, a table in ATEC throughout this term, helping people to get this set up on their phones, to give them a little orientation. I'm going to have things in Central Station, in the student newsletter. You'll see it on the screens around campus. So this is going to be something that it'll be there. You'll see it. There's going to be lots of opportunities for you to interact with Libby over the next few months. And I'm super excited about that. Cassandra, did you want to add anything for your Thaddeus Stevens people?
Not at this time. We're still working on getting the single sign-on authenticated through them. But just in general for all students, something I wanted to add that both in the web version and the app version, you can do things like highlight sections, take notes, change the playback speed. Really, there's an opportunity to use it just for recreation, for fun, listening on your phone. But if you really want to use the source for your paper, there's a lot of features on Libby, both the app and web version, that would allow you to do that.
Margaret, before we get out of here, and thank you both, and I'll give you a proper salutation before we leave. I wanted to just talk about a couple of things. First of all, Research Night will take place in the Charles T. Jones Leadership Library during weeks 5 and 6 on Wednesday evening from 5 to 8, and you'll have babysitting. You also, of course, every term have an open poetry night, which takes place during week 9, and the book club meeting, which takes place during week 11. And, of course, keep an eye out on Student Central and Central Station for more information about all three of those. Margaret, thank you so much for everything that you do. And just as an aside, our 30th edition of the CPC film series is coming up here on February 27th, and I'm looking forward to being there with you. You're such a driving force of everything that we do with the film series, so I'm looking forward to number 30.
I'm super excited, and it's a movie I've never seen.
Oh, really?
Yep.
All right, we'll have this conversation another time. Cassandra, thank you so much for not only coming to Central Penn and seeing everything that we have going on. But thank you for taking time out of your day to be on our show. It's been my pleasure to meet you. I felt like I knew you before you came in. You saw some random guy walking down the hall calling you by your name, and you're like, who is this guy and how does he know my name? But of course, I'm one of the editors of the blog and read the article, and it's going to be in our upcoming publication, so I'll make sure you get a copy of that too.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on campus. Everybody I've met here is absolutely lovely. Your campus is gorgeous, so happy to be here on a field trip.
Well, thank you so much. And Alex, of course, thank you not only for being somebody who has really worked with Margaret to get the library some coverage on the Nightly News, but also thank you for stepping up and filling Nick's shoes and being the CPC Film Series correspondent. I'm so happy you're going to get to be a part of number 30 as well.
Thank you. Thank you for all the opportunities.
Well, you've earned them, Vice President.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. I want to thank Central Penn Library Director Margaret Schachte, Thaddeus Stevens, Librarian Cassandra Dwyer, and Nightly News Vice President Alex Foley for being here today. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Nightly News Podcast. We'll see you again next time.